Imagine a young, struggling comedian in Hollywood. He's had a taste of brutal poverty, the kind where your whole family has to live out of a VW van. Most people in his shoes would be desperate for any steady job to get by, but he did something different, something that looked like pure madness. He took out a checkbook, found a blank check, and wrote it to himself for $10 million. This wasn't a joke or a bit for a stand-up routine. This was a deadly serious, completely audacious bet on a future only he could see. This is the unbelievable story of how a broke comedian wrote a worthless piece of paper that turned a wild fantasy into a multi-million-dollar reality. It's a story about a gamble so insane it actually worked. Before the fame, the iconic roles, and the massive box office numbers, there was just Jim Carrey from Newmarket, Ontario. His childhood was an exercise in instability. He had a burning desire to make people laugh, practicing impressions for hours in his bedroom mirror. But comedy wasn't just a passion. It was about to become a survival mechanism. Carrey's family life was precarious. His father, a talented musician, had traded his own dreams for the safety of an accounting job. But that safety was an illusion. When Jim was a teenager, his father lost that job, and the family's world imploded. They lost their home. For a time, the entire family was forced to live out of their Volkswagen van. The situation was so dire that Jim and his brothers sometimes slept in a tent in a public park. Around his 16th birthday, Jim Carrey dropped out of school. Not to chase a dream, but to work as a janitor and security guard alongside his father at a tire factory, just to help his family survive. It was during those grueling nights that he learned a lesson that would define his life. He saw his father, who played it safe, fail anyway. "I learned you can fail at what you don't want," Carrey later said, "so you might as well take a chance doing what you love." That love was still comedy. His father, despite their hardships, would drive him to Toronto to perform at clubs like Yuck Yucks. But success was anything but instant. His first performances bombed. The raw, manic energy that would one day make him a star was just too weird for audiences. He moved to Los Angeles in the early 80s, and, despite landing a regular spot at the Comedy Store, he still faced years of professional rejection as he tried to find his footing. It was a period of deep struggle and spiraling depression. It was in this period of desperation that the story takes its legendary turn. One night, a still struggling Jim Carrey drove his car up to Mulholland Drive. From there, he could look out over the sprawling, glittering lights of Los Angeles, the city that held all his dreams but had so far offered mostly pain. He was just another forgotten guy looking down on the land of fame and fortune. And then he did it. He pulled out a check from his own, nearly empty bank account. He made it payable to Jim Carrey. And in the memo line, he wrote a phrase that would change everything: "For acting services rendered." This wasn't just a wish for money. It was a clear declaration of who he would become: a successful actor, valued for his craft. Then he wrote the amount, $10 million. To make the promise real, he gave himself a deadline, dating the check 10 years in the future. Thanksgiving, 1995. Think about the sheer audacity of that. He had no real evidence, no major roles, nothing to suggest this was even remotely possible. It was a contract with the universe, written on a piece of paper that was functionally worthless. He folded the check and put it in his wallet. It wasn't just a dream anymore. It was now a tangible goal he carried with him every single day. But that check wasn't a magic ticket. It was a promise that demanded relentless work. For the next several years, that tattered piece of paper stayed in his wallet, a constant, physical reminder of the goal he had set for himself. It became the anchor for a powerful ritual. Often, Carrey would drive back up to Mulholland Drive. He'd park, look over the city, and visualize. This wasn't just daydreaming, it was a deliberate practice. He would tell himself, "I'm a popular actor. Every director wants to work with me." He would rehearse the feeling of success, imagining respected directors praising his work and opportunities flowing his way, and drive back down the hill, truly believing it. This was his way of coping, but it was also a form of mental training. As he later told Oprah, "You can't just visualize and then, go eat a sandwich." Down in the real world, Carrey was putting in the work. He was still performing in small clubs, driving all over town, and honing his chaotic craft in front of audiences who didn't always get it. The check in his wallet wasn't a substitute for hard work. It was the fuel for it. It gave him a North Star, reminding him of who he was determined to become, even when his reality screamed the opposite. For years, it seemed like his efforts went unnoticed. Then, a door finally opened. In 1990, he joined the cast of the groundbreaking sketch comedy show In Living Color. It was the perfect stage for his wild, physical comedy. Characters like the accident-prone fire marshal Bill became iconic, and for the first time, a mainstream audience saw the genius that Hollywood had rejected. In Living Color made him a recognizable face, but 1994 was the year he became a supernova. In the span of just 12 months, Jim Carrey went from that funny guy on TV to a global phenomenon. It started with Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. The movie, made on a modest budget, wasn't expected to be a major hit. But Carrey's "Alrighty Then" turned it into a box office sensation. Just months later, he starred in The Mask, another smash hit. And to cap off the year, he co-starred in Dumb and Dumber. In a single year, Jim Carrey released 3 massive, culture-defining comedies. He was, without question, the biggest comedy star in the world. Studios that once dismissed him were now in a bidding war for his talent, and his salary offers skyrocketed. The momentum was unstoppable. As 1995 rolled around, the date on that worn-out check in his wallet, Thanksgiving 1995, was fast approaching. The man who wrote it was a world away from the struggling actor who'd made a wild promise to himself. But the prophecy wasn't quite complete. The check wasn't for one specific movie. In 1994, he was paid a cool $7 million for Dumb and Dumber. But by Thanksgiving 1995, the deadline on his check, Jim Carrey's asking price, had officially hit $10 million per film. The amount he'd written down on the timeline he had set had come true. The check was no longer a fantasy. It had become a receipt for his value. But the universe, it turned out, wasn't done. Just after meeting his $10 million goal, he made Hollywood history by signing on for the dark comedy The Cable Guy. He became the first comedic actor to earn $20 million for a single film. He hadn't just met the insane goal he set for himself, he had doubled it. Sadly, his father passed away in 1994, just as his son's career was exploding. In a final tribute, Jim Carrey placed that now famous check, the symbol of a dream they both shared, into his father's casket to be buried with him. It was a tribute to the man who, despite his own fears, had given his son the courage to chase the impossible. Jim Carrey's insane $10 million gamble paid off in a way that almost defies belief. But the story isn't just about wishing for things. It's a testament to the power of combining a crystal-clear vision with relentless, unwavering action. The check wasn't magic. It was a tool. It was a concrete goal that focused his energy and gave him the hope he needed to endure years of hardship. As Carrey himself has said, fame and fortune are not the ultimate answer. I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of, he once stated, so they can see that it's not the answer. The real prize wasn't the money. It was the journey of becoming the person who could earn it. It was the resilience he built, the courage he discovered, and the proof that you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. What do you think? Was this a cosmic coincidence or a masterclass in self-belief? If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about turning impossible dreams into reality. And let us know in the comments, what's a goal you've written down for yourself? We'd love to hear about the insane gambles you're willing to take on your own future.